in sort of warm and everything else, everyone's probably drinking a lot more water than usual. I have, that's for sure. And this very topic crossed my mind actually last week. Funnily enough, so the timing is really interesting. But we've got an expert. We're going to speak to Dr. Rupy Aujla, who's going to tell us a bit more about the rundown where the so-called best drinking water is in the UK. So welcome to the show, Doctor. Great to have you on board. What does the report tell us in terms of sort of drinking water?
Yeah, so the research that was commissioned by OUTUP really spotlighted Britain's growing water confidence divide. So everyone's had this experience where they go to someone else's house, maybe in a different part of the country, and the water tastes different. And it's not all in our heads. There are literal differences in the quality of the water, the taste of our water up and down the country. Now, I want to say something up the top just to remind people that the quality of tap water in the UK is amongst the safest in the world. So you can drink your tap water with absolute confidence. But there are loads of different things depending on how the water is treated, the type of source water that you have in your locality, that makes the taste experience different. And that can affect hydration status as well, i.e. how likely you are to actually drink tap water. And if you're interested in what your local water quality is, you can go to outup.com/water confidence. There's a free postcode tool that you can type in your postcode, and it will tell you the chlorine levels, the pesticide residues, the amount of hardness in your water, and the overall satisfaction of your water in that area based on taste experts and a whole bunch of other things that we've triangulated. But what the report is identifying is that a lot of Brits, in fact most Brits, work around their tap water because they don't like the taste. They might chill it, they might add squash to it, and particularly during the summer, as a medical doctor and a nutritionist, I'm interested in making sure people are hydrating themselves properly. During the summer, because water can come out of the tap warm, 30% drink less tap water for that reason, and that's something that we need to address.
No, absolutely. It's an interesting point you made there, and certainly with some of the heat waves we've had this summertime, and no doubt we'll have more. You do, I suppose. I'm not an expert in this area, but my guess is not to wait until you're first to drink type thing, and definitely the other week. Sometimes you don't notice it really, but it pretty quickly you just sort of get thirsty, and what sort of is there any sort of strategy you can think about, Doctor, in terms of our listeners, in terms of making sure they don't wait till they get dehydrated to sort of start drinking?
Honestly, what you just said there, even though I know you're not an expert, is probably one of the most important things that people should do as a strategy. Don't wait until you're thirsty. Anticipate dehydration, particularly in the warm weather, because thirst is actually quite a lagging signal. It's a late signal. So you want to try and get on top of hydration as best as possible, particularly in the hotter months, and particularly if you are someone that exercises, sweats a lot, etc. So I always keep a big bottle of chilled water in front of me. I've got an OUTUP filter in the studio, and it can come out chilled, ambient, or boiling at the touch of a button. Having regular points in your day where you remind yourself to drink water. I drink water first thing in the morning. That's a really good strategy. Looking and getting comfortable with looking at the color of your urine when you go to the bathroom. It should be light colored, darker, then that could be an indication that you're not drinking enough water. And also, some of the late effects of dehydration can be lack of concentration, particularly in the afternoon, physical performance effects. Water and hydration is so important for overall well-being, temperature regulation, all the physiology and the processes that we have in our body. So making water a health priority, like a health hack, is you don't have to change your diet, you don't have to go out and exercise. All you need to do is drink more water. This is literally going to have a tangible effect on your health. So making sure that you're getting on top of it by drinking plain tap water, chilled water. You can use a filter if you want more confidence in your water, even though, like I said right at the start, UK tap water is amongst the safest in the world.
Now, interesting point there, and I think that's sort of reassuring to know that the tap water is amongst the safest, because obviously it's a lot. It's one of them. I suppose there's this sort of I mean, it's a bit of a mindful sometimes, Doctor. It's like one of them where, you read things, and sometimes about sort of buying water in plastic bottles, or buying water in glass, and should I drink tap water? And it's like, it's a difficult one, really. I mean, to be honest, what I did in the last when we had that sort of heat wave, I must admit I did purchase like some bottles of water, but you just go through a lot of water, and I think when I sort of kind of finished the bottles, I thought I'm just going to fill them up with tap water, because obviously it's costly, isn't it, to keep buying bottles type thing. But so your take on it is the people, just what is your take on sort of, I know it's outside the scope of the conversation, what's your take on sort of like buying bottled water type thing? Is with tap water suffice? Do we need to sort of go out there and buy bottled water as well?
So tap water absolutely suffices, because it's amongst the safest in the world. If you want extra peace of mind, you could get a filter like our tap, because they have a triple filtration method, UV purification system. It removes the vast majority of chlorine and microplastics. It can prevent limescale formation, and it retains, importantly, the minerals like calcium, magnesium and potassium, because that's actually what gives water taste. But it's also very important for your physiology not to strip those out of your water as well, because we're designed to actually have these in our body. But simple things like tap water that's chilled, you could use frozen fruits or fresh fruits to affect the taste of it. In fact, 85% of Brits work around their tap water. This again is from the research that was commissioned by OurTap, and it revealed that a lot of people chill it or add squash to it, and depending on where you are up and down the country, the taste is completely different, and that again is down to how sensitive you are to the taste of chlorine, or how sensitive you are, and whether you enjoy hard water or soft water. So there's so much complexity there. But in terms of the bottled water, I think it's expensive, it can be wasteful, and if you're doing it for health reasons, there is no added health benefit, in my opinion. Tap water is safe, and if you want extra peace of mind, you can absolutely use a filter like our tap as well.
Okay, so there are like filters out there. That's an interesting one. I might even look into that myself, to be fair. So the actual filter itself, Doctor, sort of, I know you explained that, like, just for our listeners. So what the filter does. I don't want to try and explain what you said there, but so the filter actually, what effect will the filter have on the water?
So I'm not an expert in different sort of filter products, but if people are interested in knowing what their local water quality is like based on the local tap water data, they can go to ourtap.com/water confidence and just put in your postcode and figure it. And I think that's important for a lot of people to do anyway, because almost half of people have got no idea about where to find information about their water quality. In terms of like filters out there, the one that I use in the studio is the OurTap. It's got this UV purification system. It removes the vast majority of the chlorine that can affect the flavor and the taste of water that some people are sensitive to. It removes the vast majority of things like microplastics that we know is getting a lot more attention now. Microplastics seeps in everywhere, so if that's something that concerns people, that might be another indication. But I think the core thing that I'm focused on is getting people to drink more water, and one of those ways in which to change that behavior is by making water taste great. And you can do that in various different ways. Filtering might be one of them, but chilling it, adding stuff to it. I've done a whole bunch of recipes actually for OurTap, which makes water a lot more interesting by using things like hibiscus tea leaves, or you can add frozen fruits to it. You can add just a few things to actually improve your nutrition, whilst also improving your hydration status as well.
Oh, that's really interesting, to be fair. I mean, that's sort of one of the things as well. I must admit, the sort of taste and the temptation is to sort of add something to it, but sometimes the issue of adding something to it might be sort of high in sugar type thing, or there might be water out there, and it's got. For me, I've tried to cut back on sugar, but sometimes I sort of read and have a look at the label and see some of the flavoured water type thing. I think, okay, well, it's got sugar in there type thing. But so just on that one there, I mean, what are some of the sort of tips? I'm going to get a pen and paper and write them myself, really. So you mentioned like adding fruit. So yeah, I mean, what can you add there, Doctor? So if I was sort of interested in adding something to it, what some ideas can I add to my water? You've mentioned that it could be quite useful.
Yeah. So one of my absolute go-tos is adding frozen berries. So you can get frozen blackcurrants, you can get frozen raspberries, you can add that to your filtered water as well. That cools the water, so it makes it chilled, and we know that people prefer the taste of chilled water. So again, these are little things that can improve your likelihood of going and drinking enough water for the day. You can add things like cucumber, you can add sprigs of rosemary that a lot of people grow at home. You can add fresh fruit as well. You can actually make like a bit of a cooler. So one thing that I like to do is I'll make a herbal tea concentrate. So everyone's got herbal tea bags at the back of their cupboards. If they're a little bit old, just pop them into a glass, add some boiling water, add 2 or 3 tea bags, make a concentrate, allow that to cool, pour that into a big jug of water. This one's out-tap filtered water. And then that will infuse the flavour, and you add some ice cubes, nice and cool. Like that's a great hydrating drink with added polyphenols from the tea, the herbal teas. That's perfect for summer, and doesn't have any added sugar or artificial sweeteners. That's another way of like keeping hydration without buying anything, or apart from the tea bags that a lot of people have already, but without relying on bottles and the extra waste and all the rest of it.
Yeah, and absolutely. That's really informative, and sort of it's really interesting. I found this sort of conversation that our listeners have as well. Really informative and really relevant to especially this time of year where it is easy to sort of like to dehydrate if you're not drinking with the hot weather. Even if you sort of like, for example, like buildings, sometimes they can be warmer than usual, and you're on the go and that sort of stuff. Before you know it, sort of you notice you are sort of like sweating and that sort of stuff. Really, I've definitely made a conscious effort to have water with me all the time now, to be fair. But in terms of like looking at where can our listeners go? I'll definitely going to log on and see the quality of the water in my area. Where can they go to see and find out more info about the quality of the water in the area and any other info that sort of
if you go to altap.com/water confidence, there's that free postcode tool. You just type in your postcode and you'll be able to find out a rundown of what your local water quality looks like, and it will give you sort of a mark out of 10, how you rank across the country, the amounts of things like chlorine and lime scale, other additives as well that you find in the water. And that could explain whether you like your water or don't like your water. So it's an interesting tool that everyone should use.
Brilliant. I'll definitely check it out myself. Thanks for your time. It's been really interesting and informative, and have a great day and a great week. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy.